Hello my Patreon family! In this tutorial I will show you the full process of shading an eye. I will also describe the basic steps and share some little tips with you. So let's start! In this video I will be using a smooth Bristol paper, graphite pencils, namely HB, 2B, 4B and 6B pencil, and soft paintbrush and blending stump for blending. I always start with shading the iris. To do so, we have to pay attention to the light. Find out where the light is coming from to define the lights and shadows. Remember that iris, which is the beautiful colored part, is covered by a transparent cornea which has a convex form. It is also important to know that the light reflection is usually on the dark side of the iris. I start with the basic shading. I used to shade gradually from the lightest values to the darker ones. I use HB or F pencil to create the first light layer as a base for further shading, and I blend it with a soft paintbrush. It's totally up to you what kind of shading technique you use in this part of shading, because we will blend it anyways. Just use a little amount of pressure to create light shading layer. In order to add some depth to the eye, I used to add some shadows. I used 2B pencil to add a little bit darker value. In this case, the light is coming from the top, so the shadows lies under the upper eyelid. You can see me following the round shape of the iris, and I put a little more pressure into the pencil where the shadows are, under the lid and also on the edges of iris. Then I blend it with a soft paintbrush, or you can also use a blending stump in case you want to achieve smoother result without the texture. If you feel like adding more layers to get darker results, just go for it. Now I'm using 4B pencil to darken the shadow under the lid, and then I add dark ring on the edge of the iris. You know that all the eyes in the world have different kind of iris, so this is only basis for the drawing, because all the eyes will have some shadows, as there are so many shapes and forms in it, so we are preparing the eye to make it look like someone's eye. I blend all the iris with a blending stump to get a smoother result. I usually use a pencil eraser to clean some areas that should stay white. Unfortunately, during the drawing there is always some excessive graphite coming to this area, so we need to clean it. When I'm done with lights and shadows of the iris, I fill the pupil using soft pencil, mostly HB or 6B. While shading the pupil, be careful not to draw over the light reflection because the dark part is not easy to erase. Sometimes we can't achieve the dark value even with the softest pencil. In this case, I recommend to use a black color pencil or a black aquarelle pencil without using a water. You can also use the same pencil to darken the darkest shadows. Now we can add some structural spokes going from the center of the iris. Actually, every eye has a different structure, so please look at the reference photo to get the right composition. If you want to make them look very thin or you draw a small detail, I recommend to use a mechanical pencil of 0.3 millimeters. I use this pencil myself for drawing the smallest details. Once we're done with the shading of the iris, we can start with shading the eyeball. Remember that the eyeball is never fully white, so we should add some light shading in order to achieve some roundness. As the light is coming from the top, I create a darker shading under the upper eyelid, in the corners, and also in the place where the eyeball touches the waterline. For the darkest shadows of the eyeball, use a little softer pencil, for example 2B lead, to darken these parts. Just look at the reference to see the shadows because it depends on where the light source is. Also, the tear duct has a round shape, so we need to add some shadows also into this area. Use a pencil eraser to create a little glossy effect on the tear duct. Now I start with shading skin. I use HB or F pencil to create basic light shading. Again, in order to create illusion of 3D form, we need to pay attention to the light to see what parts of the eyelids are lying in shadows. I usually use 2B pencil to shade the darker parts, and I create the value I need in more soft layers. Each layer is blended with a soft paintbrush. And finally, I draw eyelashes. I draw them in the end because I could destroy them when I blend the skin before. There is a special video on drawing the lashes, so please check that out for more details. Basically, I start using sharpened HB pencil to create thin and light lines. Don't forget the lashes grow in various directions and they are always slightly curved. Also, the natural lashes are grouping and overlapping, so don't draw them just parallelly next to each other. And then you can also use a softer pencil. For example, in this case I use 4B pencil to darken the lashes in case they have a mascara on, or if you feel like making them dark a bit. It's up to you. Okay, so that's all from me. I hope this video was helpful for you. Keep practicing, send me your artwork, and have a great weekend. Bye!